Hey film fans, so I just finished watching Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, and I have to say this movie is extremely slow. Like, it's super boring. So, the year is 1926, and Newt Scamander has just completed a global excursion to find and document an extraordinary array of magical creatures. Arriving in New York for a brief stoop over, he might have come and gone without incident, were it not for the nomad named Jacob. For both the wizarding and non magical worlds, this becomes a disaster. A misplaced magical case and the escape of some of Newt's fantastic beasts could spell trouble for both worlds. This movie has a 74% on the Rotten Tomato meter, and I think that's being generous. Like, I'm a huge Harry Potter fan, like, screams Harry Potter fan. But these films do not do justice to that particular franchise. They take place in the same universe, though, like, years apart. They don't do justice to the franchise at all, and that really, really lost me as far as having any sort of connection to this series. It had 234 million during its time in the production, in the box office, which, I mean, that's not terrible. That's actually pretty good, but it's not super high end either. Like, there are movies that have done better than this did, and with the Harry Potter series being such a popular franchise and such a successful franchise, you know, these movies definitely really could have done better, and that's kind of lowballing for these movies. It was released on November 18th of 2016 and was directed by none other than David Yates. And that's something else that really, really bothered me about this franchise, is that David Yates directed the vast majority of the Harry Potter movies. So these films really should have been better, considering that they are related to the franchise that he directed. I expected so much better, considering they had the same director. It could have been so much better. There's so many things that really could have been done differently. With a $200 million production budget, this movie wasn't horrendous. The CGI was, really well done. The creatures moved as creatures should. Everything had their own characteristics. There was no kind of copy and paste with the creatures. They had different movements, they had different abilities, they even had different personalities, which I think was really, really good. This movie really represents differences in culture as far as, it's the 1920s, so you see the differences in cultures between the American wizards and the European wizards. Like, you see that huge difference, and you see the Americans saying, oh, the no-mages, where you see the Europeans going, oh, the muggles. So you definitely get to see that difference in culture between two kind of different separate wizarding worlds, which I think really added to the franchise, and it really allows you to see, like, it's not just copy and paste. Like, they're not exactly the same world in some other country. There's huge differences, and I think that was amazing to be able to actually have depicted on screen. The thing that bothered me, though, is that there's that same muggle to witch struggle. And by that, I mean, there's that same kind of copy and paste thing going on, where it's everybody hates the muggles. It's pure blood, it's half blood, it's a secret wizarding world. Everybody hates the muggles. The muggles are at the bottom. They're nothing. They're sewer rats. Like, that's something that you see in the Harry Potter franchise as well, though not as drastically, but you learn that with, like, Voldemort's brain and the things that were going on then. And it added to the franchise. Like, it should have been depicted differently, because it turned into kind of just copy and paste from the Harry Potter film, and let's do this in a different century, and it's the same problem, it's the same issue. Obscurials, you get the introduction of an Obscurial, which I loved whenever they entered the franchise, because they're such a dangerous thing that are very misunderstood, there's not much known about them. And I mean, it was definitely different to see something like that. This story in the beginning is super bland. Like, he's boring for the first hour, half an hour during the film. There's no action, there's nothing going on, and you're like, this is a snooze fest. This is boring. Like, I want to fast forward. Does this get better? Is this worth watching? And I had all those moments whenever I really watched these films for the first time. I'm like, this is boring. Like, I think it took me 3 hours to watch the first film, and the first film is not 3 hours long. Just because I'm like, I'm bored. Like, what am I doing watching this? I think the Fantastic Beasts series would have been great as a standalone thing. And if you look at it as a standalone thing, it probably is a great series. But because I'm so invested and so used to the Harry Potter series, this series just didn't live up to expectations. And I think a series about Tom Riddle would have been like a trilogy about him growing up, about him ending up in the orphanage and all the things that went on with his parents, and the love potion that was involved, and how he meets Nagini, and just all of those would have been a far better prequel to the Harry Potter series than just movies about magical creatures that really doesn't add or take away, and you don't learn anything. Like, nothing happens really. It's this guy, and then his creatures get out, and then he has to capture his creatures, and then the movie's over. Where's the story? Where's the life? Where's the lackluster? Like, for me, these particular films really, really, really lack that magical feeling, that submersion into this wizarding world that was so well defined and so beautifully created. Like, it really, really lacked that for me. You guys probably have different opinions. That's fine. Again, these are my honest reviews. If you haven't already, please make sure you hit that sub button and keep farther watch for more reviews. I'm going to have to give this particular film a 2 out of 5 on the Rotten Tomato meter, just because it was so boring. Like, I couldn't get over that. So until then, film fans, keep watching.